recording. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Susan Matheny. I'm the program director for Berrien Community Foundation, and we're going to be talking about scholarship programs at the Berrien Community Foundation. So Berrien Community Foundation has over 50 different scholarship programs for students or for people seeking help with getting an education throughout Berrien County and actually even outside of Berrien County. When I say a scholarship program, I mean one program that might have multiple recipients each year. So there are literally hundreds of individual scholarships given away each year through Berrien Community Foundation. The first question I always seem to get asked is, who's eligible for scholarships? And my answer is anyone who wishes to pursue their education who lives in Berrien County. If you are a student who is a graduating high school senior in a school in Berrien County, there are scholarships for you. If you are a current college student, there are scholarships for you. If you are an adult thinking about going back to school, there are scholarships for you. And there are even many scholarships for people who are interested in going into vocational and trade schools. So there's a lot of options, and so basically everyone in Berrien County is eligible to apply for probably something in our big list of scholarships available. The average student, as far as who's eligible, do I have to be a 4.0 student? The answer is no, you don't. Yes, there are a few scholarships that are looking for academically elite people, students who are that valedictorian level going to an Ivy League or a Big Ten school, but there are far more scholarships available for people who have financial need and maybe are going into a particular career path. And often sometimes, and a lot of times we're also looking for students who maybe have done something benevolent. They are volunteers. They have some passion in the community that they've done. So I think, honestly, the average application requirement for GPA is usually around 2.5 to 3.0. So if you're not a 4.0 or 4.7 or whatever that real high GPA is, there are still many scholarship options available to you, especially if you have financial need. The other thing I wanted to just let everybody know is if you do have questions throughout this, feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat. I'll try and answer them as we go as well. So what I'd like to do is start with just some basic functions of how do I find scholarships, these scholarships you're talking about. And so I'm going to walk you through by showing you our website and showing you how to find a scholarship that you might want to apply for. So I'm going to share my screen and show you our actual website. The website address that you're looking for is www.berriencommunity.org/scholar, or if you just go to berriencommunity.org and then go to the tab that says scholarships, just click on it. That's where I'm going right now. So if you were to get to our webpage, and if you were on the home page, you would go right here where it says scholarships and just click on it. Or like you can see, if you hover over it, there's also some other options that you can click through that I'll show you in a minute. So now we've gotten to the scholarship page. It can be a little overwhelming because there are so many scholarships you can apply for. What we tried to do was to put them in categories so that you could say, okay, I know that I am a student at Bridgman High School. So I'm going to click, you can click on a particular category like Bridgman High School, and it's going to list every scholarship that a student from Bridgman High School might be eligible for. And so what you see here are just very brief snapshot descriptions of who we're looking for this particular scholarship. And as you can see, there's quite a few of them, even just for Richmond. And then you can choose ones that seem right to you. These categories are more than just high schools. You'll have all Berrien County High School. So that means any high school student who lives in Berrien County. Here's the likely scholarships that you would be eligible for in that list. There's also the adult returning non-traditional current college student. It's just what it says. If you're any of those things, that's where you want to look to see what kind of scholarships are available for you. And you can see there's quite a few. And then, of course, we have one where non-Berrien County students, because we do have a few scholarships that are eligible outside of Berrien County students are eligible. So you can see there's even that if you're, especially if you're from Hartford high schools, we have some different scholarship options for you. And so as you can see, you kind of go through, you've chosen your scholarship category. Then you're going to go through and read and say, oh, this kind of sounds like it could be me, or this one, or this one. And the way that you find the actual application, I said, oh, the Frederick S. Upton Foundation. That one looks good to me. I think I want to apply for that. You click on it. It brings you a Word document right down here. And you can open that up. Let me know if you can't see what I'm opened up. I think you're good to see that. Can everyone see that? If not, I think I can change that.
We can see it.
Oh, you can't. Can you see the application?
We could see the website, but we could not see the grant the actual scholarship application.
All right, there it is. Should be able to see it now. Can you see it? It should say Frederick S. Upton Foundation.
There.
Yes, we can see that.
All right, thank you for your patience. I'm good at talking and I'm good at tech, but I'm not always good at talking while doing tech. Like playing the piano and doing a dance at the same time. So the Frederick S. Upton Foundation is the one I chose because I chose that one to show you guys because it's pretty much every student category except for outside of Berrien County is eligible to apply for a Frederick S. Upton. And I thought this was a good one to show you. So when you look at a scholarship application, they will have some things in common. This one, they will have a cover page. Here you go. Then they will have an instruction page, and they're going to give you lots of instructions. I would recommend very strongly that you read every single word at least once and try to, keep track of the things it says because it really does lay out exactly what we're looking for. It tells you who is providing the scholarship. It tells you what they want in a student, like the ideal candidate. It may tell you something special, like this is only to be used at a particular, at schools in the state of Michigan, or it's only for four-year institutions, or, you kind of look through all that so you can see. But right here in the middle is the part that I think is the meat of this is how to put that application together. And it's going to be a list of all the different things you're going to need to get. So those little bullets are very important to this application. Then once you keep going through, you'll see the next page actually starts the application where we're asking for your information. Every application is a little bit different, but they all have a lot of things in common. So I always say apply for a lot of things because once you've done the first one, you've gotten most of the information for all the applications, frankly. So we're going to ask you questions about yourself, where you're going to school, what kind of activities you might be involved in, if you have a work history, lots of these things. And we're going to come to the financial information section. We're going to ask you, what's your estimated family contribution? Now, this is on your FAFSA, which is the the federal application for financial aid. And every scholarship that we put out into the world requires that you give us a FAFSA. So if you haven't done your FAFSA and you're not sure how to, I would recommend you check in with your guidance counselor at school. That's likely the person that's going to help you, or at the college you're thinking about going to, they can help you. There's some pretty good instruction out there on the internet you can Google. But hopefully by now you've filled out your application and you know what your expected family contribution is, which is a dollar number, and you would put it here. And then we felt like that dollar number doesn't always tell the whole story of you and your situation financially. So we give you a question that says, is there anything else you would like us to know about your financial situation? I would very much encourage folks who have a special situation to use that, and you use as much, pages you need to explain special circumstances that might, be causing you to not be able to afford college or afford the education you're going for. It really does make a difference. The committees review them, they're real people, and they understand that there are always some special circumstances. The last tip I'd like to give you about your FAFSA and giving us that information, we also require you to give us your determination page. That's a particular page in your FAFSA that they return to you that says what your estimated family contribution is. So it's just proof of what you've written on this application. You don't need to give me the entire packet of paperwork you get back from them. In fact, I encourage you strongly not to, because it does have a lot of personal information on there that I don't really want to, I don't need to know. Some of them might show things like social security numbers or things like that, and I don't need to know those things. And, what we do if we get all of those pages is I pull the one I need and we shred the rest, but it's better if I just don't get them. Then, of course, there are signatures we require on the application. So if you are an 18-year-old or over, you can sign it yourself. If you are not, we would need you to have your guardian sign it. We also have some release information. So in case we have a photo of you or anything like that, you kind of give us permission to use a photo of you. This is not a deal breaker. If you have a special circumstances that says, I really can't be in the newspaper because of my safety or any other reason, you certainly should reach out to us and tell us that, and we will take care of that. Then the next page is just contact info. So I'm Susan Matheny, and here's how to get a hold of me. I am a real person with a real phone, and I'm happy to answer one-on-one questions at any point. Don't let not knowing the answer to a particular question stop you from seeking a scholarship. We can figure it out. And then, of course, there's an essay. Most of these scholarships have either an essay or they have a question or two that they want you to answer. And we put that on there so you know exactly how big the font needs to be and how to do it and what the question is. And that's the end of the paper that you'll have downloaded. But then if you go back up to that application instructions, I'm going to go back to those bullets again. So now the question is, I've found a scholarship I want. I've filled out the application. I've gone through and I've proofread everything and maybe had somebody else proofread it. And I've got the signatures I need on the signature page. Now, how do I get it to Berrien Community Foundation? So before you put it in the mail, what you want to do is have all the other things that we have listed here. So in this case, this scholarship requires 3 letters of recommendation, and it even tells you who, from, what kind, what type of person or relationship you might have with that person. The essay page, which is, we saw there at the end of the scholarship, your high school transcript, or if you're a current college student, your college transcript, your highest score for the SAT, so your SAT transcript. I know lately, the last couple of years, it's been a little harder for students to get their SAT done. COVID has made it hard to get out and do that. So if you don't have one, you can just let us know you don't have one, and you are not absolutely required if you don't have it. A copy of your federal aid, the information I said about your financial aid, just the page that we need is the determination page, the one that shows that number that says how much they think your family could contribute to your education. And once you have all of those things, you put them together in paper. It's not something that you email, and you don't, just paper clip it. You don't need to staple it. You don't need to put it in a fancy folder or bind it in any way. And you put it in an envelope, and then you can mail it to our offices. You can drop it off. We have a mail slot in the door, so you could drop it off through the mail slot even if we're not open. You can walk in during the day when we are open, barring a snowstorm when we might be all working from home. And you need to get that to us. And you have to get it to us either in our hands by March 4th, 2022 this year, or it has to be postmarked March 4th. So we're okay if it doesn't arrive exactly on March 4th. All right, now I'm going to go off of this, what we were looking at. Okay. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. So once we receive your applications after March 4th, we go through all the applications, put them together in packets, and we go through them. We're fairly kind and gentle. We take a look through them, and if we see that you're missing something, we generally give you a chance to send it in. We give you a call. So what's important is that if you give me an email address and a phone number, that you answer that email address, that you read it, that you answer the phone that you give us, because it might be us saying, hey, if you get us this by the end of the week, we will put it in your application because you missed it. So you make sure you're checking that. You'd be surprised how many students give me an email address and then they never check it. And they miss an opportunity to fix their application and then they don't get awarded. Recipients, once the community volunteers, who are the committee that review the scholarships and choose recipients, we notify those recipients by the end of May. We invite them to a party unless we have a shutdown that says we can't have group parties. And then in that party, you get to meet your donor and we serve you a nice little, we have a nice little fun time. You get a certificate. And then you get more information about how to trigger your scholarship for the following fall. And you send in information that we require. And then we send checks usually mailed in early August. And half of each year's scholarship will go towards the fall semester, and then half would be applied to the winter semester. With little exception, that's how the dollars will be allocated when you receive your scholarship. And if you have a renewable scholarship, say it's a 4-year scholarship, it would be that each year. So you'd have half in the first semester and half for the second semester. Any questions so far? Looks like we have someone joining us.
There is one question in the chat saying that they noticed that some of the scholarships require a letter of recommendation sent separately from the application from the recommender. And how do you know that you have received those applications or those recommendations once they've been completed?
Actually, none of our scholarships require that it be sent separately. I know that a lot of scholarships do that, but none of the ones that we administer do that. I do believe we have one scholarship that requires that you have them put their letter recommendation in an envelope and seal it and sign their name over the seal, so that kind of shows it hasn't been opened. But we actually don't require that. But if you are ever unsure or want to make sure that we received anything, if you go to that page on the website or on the application with my information, you can just shoot an email and ask, and we'll check and let you know. It's not a problem. All right, any other questions? Okay, so I'm going to just want to show you another part of our website. Berrien Community Foundation, of course, has a lot of scholarships, but we also, are happy to share information about other scholarships we hear about, know about. And so there actually is a place on our website to find that information as well. So let me just go back and show you that. If you're at this is the home page of scholarships. If you go up to that tab and let it hover so you drop down, you'll see there's an option of other scholarship opportunities. Basically, whenever someone says, hey, will you put our scholarship up? We put a link and right here, and they're all in order, and you have to just sort of go through and click on them and see if there's Benton Harbor students. We have stuff from the Promise and Buchanan Promise, but just all kinds of things. There's a DAR scholarship, and you really just click through and see if anything is applicable to you and looks good to you. And, you know, it can really maybe give you some other leads of where to look for scholarships. We don't administer these, so I don't generally know a lot of information about them, but it's at least a place where we just wanted to start putting in one place an easy start for when people are searching for scholarships. There are also some other information on our website about scholarships that you might be able to use. Like this session we're recording right now, we'll go here eventually, and it'll have the actual recording instead of the advertisement for it. So if somebody if you want to refer them back, we'll put this up so they can continue to look. And then, of course, I have just a random list. Well, not random. It's actually a very intensely thought through list of scholarship tips on things to do. And really, it was born out of all the mistakes that people make a lot. And so I put that list together to try to really give you that. So right before you send your application in, I would say read that list again and make sure that you feel like you've done all the things that are on that list. Am I seeing any other questions here? Let's see. Can you start filling out a scholarship and save the information and go back to finish it at a later time? Grace, that's a really good question. It's a Word document, so you're going to download the actual document, and then you're going to fill it out whenever you want. You can save it on your computer because eventually you're going to print a paper version, and that's what you're going to turn into me. So yes, the answer is yes, but it's not really like an online web form. It's really just a Word document. Let's see if there's anything else. All right, feeling like we might be light on community service and volunteering, but have outstanding grades. I would say that there's still scholarships out there for you. Maybe there's a reason you didn't do community service. Maybe you did sports and lots of activities in school. You might want to focus on those things instead, is where I would go with. If you feel like you're light on one thing, well, then highlight what you're not light on. Or if there's a reason that you were light on it. Let's see. Any other questions here?
Susie, because of COVID, there are some opportunities that people just haven't had, maybe through the community service or volunteering or things like that. Is there anything that you would recommend because of some of these students it's just been a special time?
It really has. And I'll tell you, I go into every single one of these committee meetings as your advocate, as the applicant's advocate. I go in and we're looking to try to help students get scholarships, not find reasons to deny them. And so we have these conversations with the committees to remind them of these kinds of things. But I would say that if you are light on, say, volunteering or what, I would say focus on what you have done. Put it in there if you have done some things, because you'll be surprised how much you stand up against other people, because no one has a very heavy volunteering last couple of years. But you can also go back a few years. You can go pre-COVID and say, before we were all shut into our houses, I was able to do these things. And I also think that you can include, work you do with your church, things that I think sometimes people don't think of that as volunteer or community work, but it really is. The people in your church are the community. And if you're serving them through your church, you can, include that as well. And you can also talk about it in your essay if the question allows for it. So I think that's a really good question, though. Anything else? All right, I'm going to give you my big tips, and then we're going to close out on the general portion. So my first big tip is, of course, follow directions. Pay attention to those application instructions and submit everything we ask for. It's best if you do it first. We will try to be kind and gentle. But on the other hand, it's better if you do it. Answer every question. Never leave a question blank, even if your answer is to just tell us why you don't need to answer that question. Maybe this isn't applicable to me because. Create quality, that way I know that you read it and you know you didn't answer the question, and here's why. Create quality documents. This means, type everything. You shouldn't submit any handwritten applications. And try not to use stained or crumpled paper. Try to just use basic, simple, clean copy paper. And make sure everything is printed on one side only, not two sides. The reason is because we have to put these into a scanner often. And if you do that, then I have to go stand through 1,000 pages of trying to make it go from two-sided to one-sided. But then don't get too fancy with your paper. People sometimes put it on just thick, fancy paper, and it's not necessary. And it doesn't fit in the feeder for the scanner, and that just makes life harder anyway. You don't need to spend extra money on, that kind of thing. Everybody ends up with a white paper, regular copy paper application that the committee sees, regardless of what you send in. Sign on the line. Make sure that you're getting the signatures that you need, whether it's you or your guardian or parent. Make sure those signatures are there. Watch your deadlines. Make sure that you're getting things in before the due date. Applications received after the due date don't really get considered. So you have to make sure you get it in on time or early. Early's nice too. And if you have some extenuating circumstance that makes that it's going to be late, you should contact us and we can probably work it out. But if it's after and you go, well, I just forgot, that's not a great excuse. Ask for help early. These applications are available, the beginning of the year, at least 2 months before our due date. And if you need to ask questions and get answers, you're way more likely to get lots of help 2 weeks before the due date versus 2 hours from the due date. And that also goes for asking for letters of recommendation. I have had multiple teachers and other people who are commonly asked to do recommendation letters ask me to stress this to you. Go as soon as you think you're going to do an application and request that application recommendation letter as soon as you can. Because if you ask them to provide you something the night before, you may not get it. And it's also just wildly unfair to put that on someone who's doing you a favor by writing you a glowing recommendation. I know that when I write recommendations, I try to take a lot of time and write a really good one. And if you ask me to do it at the last minute, you don't get the full force of what I'm able to do to really say the nice things I want to say about you. Find a proofreader. Make sure someone else is looking over your applications when you're done, because sometimes you just don't see the typo. You wrote the essay, you might forget, you put in all the words you might be missing, but somebody who didn't write it will see those right away. Get somebody to help you by reading it. And it could be anybody, your mom, your friend, your teacher. Try to pick a friend who's a pretty decent writer, but have someone just take a good look at it. Read all about it. If you're unsure of something, it is okay to call or email us to ask. It really is. Call me, email me, ask those questions. But remember, try to read through the whole application first, because you don't really want me to read the application to you, I'm sure. Repeat, and I'm going to say repeat, and I'm going to say this in that you fill out one application, but you could also fill out multiple applications. So you don't have to just choose one. So fill out one and then go look for another one that you're eligible for and apply. All of these are exclusively, they're one-off. So you could win more than one application. You can be considered for more than one. You don't have to choose. So if you think you're eligible, you think you fit the criteria, apply for it. Keep on the lookout to know when scholarships are available. You have to keep an eye out. Also, we literally are adding scholarships this week that just were created. So keep an eye out. There might be another one available before the due date. You never know when a donor is going to decide today's the day, and we try to accommodate that as much as we can because we want these scholarships to be available to you. So if I can say anything, I would say just make sure you're reading the application instructions and try to follow those to the letter. But also know we are kind and gentle. We try to be nice. And we're certainly not looking for reasons to throw your application out. We're looking for reasons to help you get through the education that you want to get. Trying to see if there's any other questions I can answer. All right, so I think if there's no other questions for right now, I'm going to say thank you very much for attending, and we will stop the recording. Thank you all, and thank you so much for coming. And I hope you all end up getting the scholarship that you need and the education that